Hi, my name is Diana Mairose. I am an advocate, artist, and an aunt of twins, and I'm also a heart survivor. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the east side, Mount Lookout, Hyde Park 2 times, Oakley, and now I'm in Norwood. And I work as an advocate advisor at Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services.
Very nice. Can you tell me when you were born? When's your birthday?
January 11th, 1978, the year of the blizzard in Ohio.
You said you grew up in the east side, Hyde Park. Where did you go to school?
School was actually a journey for me, and my first school was a Montessori school, which I really didn't like. I got bullied a lot, and the teachers really didn't know how to teach me, even though my tutor, who was excellent, hi Shari, I hope you're listening. I would love to reunite with her sometime. She really helped me grow, and she also did something that probably she wasn't supposed to do, but she tested me on higher levels, and I passed those as well, but that school kept holding me back for reasons I still don't know of today. My mom and Shari found a new school for me, and that school was awesome because it had a library. I loved books. It had an art class. I loved art, especially starting that school. And I had friends, and it was smaller. Every subject was for me, and sometimes I worked with other grades, and sometimes I didn't. I also attended church there, and I volunteered, and I think that's when I really started to enjoy helping people. I used to serve people meals. We had garage sales. I would help sell tickets. And it was just a fun thing to do because growing up, I was a very sick baby. I had a lot of speech disabilities. I have a cleft palate. I also had ear tubes that permanently damaged my left ear as an adult. I also had major stomach issues. I couldn't eat half of the food I eat now. So it was a struggle to find a balance of my eating and my hand-eye coordination and my muscle tone and things that people didn't see. I had a lot of invisible disabilities as well. I also had a lot of tutoring growing up, a lot of testing growing up, and sometimes I didn't like the tutors, and I just wasn't interested in why they were teaching me this and how they were teaching me. But it kind of got better in high school, even though I did not attend high school in Cincinnati. my parents found a boarding school for me, and I'm very thankful for that because they helped me with my self-esteem, learning how to be a good friend to people, understanding to have boundaries with me, and knowing that I can't help everybody and be there for everybody. I did some amazing things. I did horseback riding, and I also performed in plays, and I was also a big sister to 2 new students. And I also enjoyed theater and a lot of other different things. I graduated in 1996. My best friend from high school and I are still best friends, so it's been over 30 years. And she lives in Vermont in the country, and I live in the city. So it's a lot of fun for her when she comes here because there's more to do. I also believe that education comes in different ways, and I attempted college, but it just wasn't right for me and my time. But I also learned that you don't need a college education. It's not, sometimes it's not for you, but there's also different education classes that you can take. But my family's focus was getting me a job. I had a place to live, a very small part of a 2-family house, but I just got 2 jobs that were not for me. It was working in a daycare center that had a lot of difficulties with moving and staff and students and illness, and it just wasn't the right time for me. Even though I do love kids, it was a struggle working there, and communication was a barrier sometimes. I also learned I didn't like working by myself. I didn't like taking 3 buses to my other job as a church receptionist. And sometimes working things, it was difficult to get everything done on time and not work overtime. I knew I wanted to enjoy my job. I wanted to be happy with my job. I wanted to help people, but I really didn't know what. An organization that really helped me, that's sadly not around anymore, is United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cincinnati. I took career classes there, and I got my first job there that I really, really loved. I was a receptionist, and I enjoyed meeting people and hearing their stories, and I had some really great friends, and they were very happy and understanding with my needs and understanding that I really didn't know Cincinnati. I didn't know any social groups. I didn't know where to ask for help. And they were always there for me. I helped other people there with their small business. And we were the only group, micro enterprise, that lasted 3 years in Cincinnati. We got to travel to Chicago and Boston, and we sold our products right here on Finley Market. It was a learning experience, and even though we had to close our business, we still have memories and stories, and we learned a lot. At that time, another door opened for me. And I was talking earlier about education and partners in policy making was a class that changed my whole life forever. I met some phenomenal leaders. Also, my friend S.C. Peterson, who S.C. taught partners in policy making and had the curriculum and had people come in and speak, and we learned about Ohio's government system, the county government system, and places that could help us with a lot of different issues that people with disabilities face. In that class, I learned that I could create my own job. And that is why I'm an advocate today. And that is why I enjoy learning other people's stories. I started telling people stories with their permission, with their words, and I always made sure that the person was at the event with me. And if they're not there, I ask the family if they have a picture, because I think it's important for people to see that people with disabilities are everywhere and they do amazing things. My friend Bill started volunteering, and now he's with his job for over 30 years with the city of Cincinnati. That's just one example of how employment can look different, because like me, he's helping our city. He's the only paper scanner for the city of Cincinnati, and they rely on him. And he also delivers the mail for the city of Cincinnati. So a job is more than a job. He has friends at his job. I have friends at my job. And that is something that people with disabilities sometimes thrive on and sometimes don't like to thrive on. You know, some people like working by themselves. And I think the more choices we have in our city for people with disabilities, the better we are. And I think the ADA really didn't affect me that much. I mean, I think I learned about it because of buildings and accessibility and signs. And I have some amazing stories I would like to tell you today about that. One of them is that everybody can read pictures, and that is a universal language, a way of getting around in the community. And I decided another word that we needed to remove was the word handicapped. And just to use the symbol or use the symbol and put parking. Now, my friend John taught me that some bills are neutral and that they don't cost money. So this is just for new signs, like at a new shopping center or a new stadium or a new library, because we're remodeling a lot of our libraries now. And just to use the accessible symbol. I was fortunate to get that passed in Hamilton County, the city of Cincinnati, and the state of Ohio. Now, the state of Ohio is the one that took the longest, but I kept pushing, and I finally got it done. I also believe that voting is an important right in people of all abilities, in that they have the choice to vote. I don't tell them they have to vote, but I encourage them to learn the voting laws, to get an ID, and just to visit your Board of Elections or learn about voting at different places and by different people. I think we also have to understand that history sometimes does repeat itself, and that, family members might not want their child to vote because they had an experience, or they feel it's not valued, or they feel that they can't make a decision. But I think we have to understand that voting is for everybody if they want to choose to vote, and just to have the option out there is very important. I was going to talk about my family and I forgot.
Yeah, let's talk about your family. Actually, that's usually where I start too.
Okay.
So if you'd like to talk about your family, who is in your family, about your parents or siblings, and maybe how they've helped your journey.
Growing up, I had an older sister, and I have a younger brother who's 10-ish years younger than I am.
What are your siblings' names?
My sister's name is Erica. My brother's name is Michael. My brother lives in West Virginia, and my sister and the twins live in Norwood. We also had the same family we grew up with. My sister was friends with my friend's older brother, and I was friends with his younger sister. And we had a great childhood. We went camping, we played together, but looking back, I think it was hard for my sister because I needed more care, but our backyard was huge, and we had so much fun there. And our friends lived a block away, but we didn't have to worry about sidewalks or crosswalks. We just walked down 2 houses, cut through the person's driveway, and there we were. And that's how we did it. We just, sometimes we would call, sometimes we would just pop over, and sometimes we would just walk the neighborhood with other friends. And, you know, we went down the street to get ice cream and baseball cards. And we just had a good time. You know, we really didn't emphasize on the newest toy or the newest technology. We just played outdoors a lot, or had sleepovers. We celebrated Halloween together. We all went trick-or-treating together. We celebrated Christmas. You know, we celebrated birthdays. I always begged to sleep over, but 90% of the time the answer was no on the weekends. But we had a good time. You know, we watched cartoons. We played in our basement. Our basement was like the coolest basement ever. We actually performed plays in the basement. And, you know, it was the simple things. It wasn't, you know, my sister played a lot of sports, but it wasn't overwhelming like it is now. And it wasn't, you know, all the time. And it wasn't competitive. And I'm seeing that more and more with my niece and my nephew. But my sister's always putting them in double sports, and it's like, why? Just one of each would be plenty. But that's her thing. But I did play indoor soccer growing up because I wanted to be like my sister. I wanted to be included, and that's how it was. I never really learned how to ride a bike, but I was okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a fun childhood, even though sometimes I had surgeries or I was sick. I still made it the best.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you about your parents, about what are your parents like? What are their names?
My dad's name is Lee, and my stepmom's name is Cindy, and my mom's name is Adele, and my stepdad's name is Patrick. My mom has Lewy body dementia, so I worry about her a lot. My stepdad is her primary caretaker, and it's hard for me because I don't drive a car. I can't just say I'll be there in 10 or 15 minutes. So I try to see them once a weekend, and I call once a week. Growing up, my dad worked. My mom worked at some points in my life, but she was also my number one advocate in doctor visits and finding creative doctor visits and options that would best help me. And sometimes I think with her illness now, that all that helping me put a toll on her, but I don't know. We would travel a lot on vacations. They would come visit me at summer camps. But when my brother was born, I was so happy. I was in 3rd grade, and he just helped me grow and not be so lonely. Because I was pretty isolated growing up. I mean, I didn't have that many classmates, and I only had one other family, and all 3 of the siblings were my friends. But that was about it. They attended a whole different school and had different activities, and having a disability sometimes was hard because I couldn't be part of activities that were out there for me. So my brother was really close to me, and I was really close to him. And when my sister went to high school, I barely saw her, and then she started driving, and then she didn't stay home on the weekends. So I helped my mom with my brother a lot. But, and then when I went away to school, I didn't see my brother a lot, and he was okay with that, I guess. But he was very happy when I was home. And my sister, moved out and had a job and went to college again. So we kind of went our own ways.
Yeah. When you were younger, what did you think that your life would be like when you got older? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, my teacher always told me that I would be a librarian because I had so many books on my desk that you couldn't even fit all my notebooks, all my textbooks, and all my library books. And she'd be like, Diana, you need to return some of them. You can always get them later. And I I guess I really wanted to help people as well. I knew I wanted to help people. My mom always let me volunteer in the community with her, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do, either helping people or something with books. Math was not my strong point, so I had to stay away from math jobs. And I just didn't know where I wanted to be in my place of employment. But I live independently as I can. I have the best roommate ever, my cat Theodore. I don't really have a big extended family. I have one cousin that lives on the west side, and my aunt and my cousin and her husband live near a beach, so not really close to here. And on my dad's side, I have my uncle, and that's it. So I always say that a lot of my really close friends are my family, because I see them more. They understand what I'm doing more. They know what I'm doing more. And they like to see me in a natural way, not just on holidays or, in my aunt's case, surprise visits, which I really don't like. Because it's hard for me, and it's hard for my mom, and they think like we're not doing the best job as my mom sometimes, and they don't know, they're not there, and yes we are, we're doing the best we can. So family is tricky for me, but I have friends that I know who to call in case there's an emergency, or in case I just want to have fun and go to an event, and I have to accept that, my family's not going to be here forever, and that's why we have friends to be with us.
You talked about after you went to boarding school, you graduated in 1996, you said? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk about after boarding school, how you got to be an advocate and kind of some of your different jobs? I know you talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but just walking through it a little bit.
Yes. So when I graduated, I slowly moved into my new place. I didn't know a lot of people. I called my mom every day, and the only thing that kept me somewhat connected was a shopping center down the street from my house, the library, and my family. But then two things really exciting happened to me. Being involved at United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cincinnati, and also having my first support service administrator. And they used to call them case managers. This is another worded thing. We didn't like to be called cases, so they changed the words a lot. He was awesome. We still talk. He helped me with finding a social group, which was really exciting because each month I got a calendar. I could pick 2 different things I wanted to do, and it was semi by myself. I mean, I still had to get transportation to get there, or sometimes I took the bus. I had to learn how to take the bus too, and it was fun, you know. I got to meet some great people, and I'm still friends with them. So socially, I was getting better.
Can I ask, what was the name of that coordinator? What was his name?
Starfire Council of Greater Cincinnati. And now we have the same concept, but it's a different organization called the Ken Anderson Alliance. And it's just something good to look forward to. And, you know, we get the calendar, we get to sign up, and we do different things.
What was the name of the resource coordinator that helped you, the one that you still talk to?
Dave Troop. I'd like to give a shout out to him. I'm still friends with him and his whole family, because I helped his stepson find a place to live for a little while. We lived in the same complex in Oakley, so I enjoy helping people. I really do.
Very nice.
Sorry, I forgot your question.
That's okay. We were talking about kind of how you became a disability advocate and just all the different things that you did.
Really through taking leadership classes at United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cincinnati. I also taking partners in policy making was the big jump, even though it took a while. And volunteering, I can't emphasize how important volunteering is, because before I worked at Rabatna, it was called MRDD. Now it's called Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services. I volunteered to be on some interview committees for possible staff members. And I never would have guessed I would be working there sometime. Now, at first I was a contractor. I only got paid for my time there. I had no benefits. But now I'm a part-time employee with benefits. And that's very rewarding, because that was my first job actually with benefits. So that was really exciting.
Can you tell me what years you were at your different positions? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep track. You graduated in 1996. You started with United Cerebral Palsy of Cincinnati. Do you remember what year that was? Do you remember what year that was? It's okay if you
did
don't.
2000, 2001. But I kind of went back and forth there. I either worked there or just took classes there. But for several years. But, they were very accommodating in my job search. And finding the right job was pretty difficult, but, you have to start somewhere. I don't like saying I got fired from those jobs. I just say that I needed to move on and find something that I liked or I had more control of, because if you're not in control with your life, you can get really depressed and don't know where to turn or make bad choices. And I didn't want to do that. I'm not saying that I'm perfect in any way. I've made some pretty bad choices in my life, but I learned from them, and I'm getting stronger every day.
Yeah, that's all you can do is just learn from your mistakes and try to grow, right? What year did you start? It was MRDD at the time, right?
Yes.
What year did you start there? It's okay. It's okay if you can't remember.
Bad with dates, too.
That's okay.
It was the same as Robert.
It was the same as Robert?
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said? It said like 2007?
8?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's okay if you can't remember too. You could just say like the 2010s if you want. Did you want that back?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, whatever works.
That's one thing I keep saying I needed to write a list of all my accomplishments and when I did it.
Yes. Yeah, you really should. That's your history. Yes. Well, that's okay. So let's see. This is a question that Lisa actually created, was how did you feel as you learned to speak up for yourself and for others as you became an advocate? How did that make you feel? You actually don't have to talk into that. You can set it down. That's okay.
I think I overcame my speaking nervousness with working with the micro enterprise. A lot of people, microphones are my best friend because it allows me to have a bigger voice. And sometimes it gets easier, sometimes if I have notes, if I don't have notes. So it's different in each environment. But I enjoy helping, telling other people's stories. I don't put words in where they don't belong. I don't say things that they didn't say. I just tell the story how it is. And yes, sometimes I have to ask for understanding or making sure that this was right or this was correct. But I think that's how I learned, just by again, helping others by strengthening my voice, by practicing. I was always looking at my notes, and then I started doing it in my head, but then I would talk too much. Yes, I do have that problem. But I think, having help, and having friends help me, or advocacy coordinator Amber help me, doing, okay, that's too much, doing hand signals or something like that is very beneficial. And just hearing other people speak and other people with disabilities speak and having the opportunity to do so, I think that's why I'm a well-known speaker.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of your advocacy career has been about language. You helped change some language around disability here in Cincinnati, like getting rid of the R word and the people first language. Do you want to talk about any of that, about maybe like removing handicap or removing the R word? Yeah, take your notes. Yeah, feel free to read from your notes, yeah.
I think, the MR changing the name is very historical, and this should have been done a long time ago, and I think we have a long ways to go because, yes, it was erased, but people often say it, and it's still in people's mind. Even though we say we're not MRDD anymore, we're Hamilton County DD Services, Developmental Disability Services, they'll still say MRDD because that's what they're used to. And we just have to be patient and remind others that we don't use these words anymore. Don't label services or people, just ask. People are like, well, what can I call you? I'm like, Diana, my name. That's all you need to know. And remember, we all can communicate. Even if it's a smile, eyes up means yes. Just give us a chance. And I think people first language, I learned it from a very good friend and advocate of mine named Kathy Snow. And she always taught me, learn it as if you don't know, because some people don't know, and some disabilities have different types of what the language, what they want to be associated with. And remember kindness, remember being kind. Language is everything in what you do. And I think that's really important for not just in the everyday world, but in the doctor's world, in the hospital world. I also think that it's difficult because when we removed the word MR, a lot of people don't know. I was there for the signing. I actually signed my name to remove that word. But people didn't know we had to do it again because we had books and books of law books and in Columbus, and we had to sign to remove that as well. So, you know, it was the advocates who really, like myself, who really wanted this changed. And sometimes I was there when they voted on it as well. So it's having the opportunity and know who you know and who you want to know and who you need to know to make this happen. And just to understand that words do hurt and actions hurt too, you know. And I think a lot of people with disabilities don't like being called names. And nobody should like being called a name. So I don't know why it took so long for this to happen. Even though we have, you know, rules on language in schools, now we have another problem, and it's the internet. And finding, you know, being bullied on the internet is something very, very real. And it's very, very hurtful, and it causes problems, not just for the student, but for the family, because they don't know what to do, and the schools don't know what to do, because it didn't happen on the grounds. It happened cyberspace, and I just wish that we could stop that somehow, because technology is growing for people with disabilities, which is an awesome thing and has allowed more independence, has saved our organization money, but it also can bring a bad seed to those who experience bullying or being called names or being seen while getting abused. And I don't think there's an answer, but there's in high schools they have numbers to call, and and we don't hear about the good, we hear about the bad, and we need to hear more about the good.
Yeah. What year did you sign to have the R word removed from MRDD. Do you remember when that was?
2010, 11.
Can you say that as a whole sentence again, just for the camera, just so we understand?
I believe we finally removed the MR out of MRDD in 2010 or 11.
That's perfect. That's okay if
I
you
can
don't.
look it up.
It's okay. I feel like it's more about the experience around it than about the actual year.
It was very mind-changing, very exciting. We actually removed the MR from our building. Our superintendent, we put her in a cherry pickle mobile, and she moved the MR from the building. And we had staff, we had people we serve, excited. And we had music, we had entertainment, and I should know this because I helped plan the event. I planned the events and then I forgot what they are. But it was a very exciting day, and I think, we had to change a lot of things, and we had to change on the levy and made sure that people understood we're the same group of people, but just with a new name. And but I think it was the best thing we could ever do.
Did you get resistance or pushback from people? Were people against it?
Yes, we did. Especially during levy time. We have, I think it was just like, why now? Or what does this do? Or why isn't the old name on the ballot? Or but I think it was a lot of older families. And, I always say that you can't change how people feel with words. And I truly believe that because, it's something different. If they change the World Library to Book Hall, what would people think? Would people know to go there, And I think that's something we struggle with. Yes, we serve over 10,000 people just in Hamilton County alone, but there's so many people that don't know that we exist or don't know what we do, or if you have a question, we're gonna, if you need a resource, we're there. I mean, we're not gonna put you away and brush you off. And we do have rules and we do have laws, and that's to keep people safe. And keep the money where it belongs. And sometimes bad things happen. But we try to celebrate the positives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fascinating. I feel like that was a big push. There was a big push to change that language, and I feel like the early 2000s and the mid 2000s were finally people sort of waking up to that. I agree with you that it's still taken some time, but did you have any other experiences like changing language or changing signage? How did you do that? Like, how did you know who to reach out to do that?
Well, when I changed the word handicapped,
yeah, who did you reach out to help change that?
I reached out to Hamilton County DD Services, and I reached out to our city and city council and our commissioners, and I spoke at different conferences about it, and I just, and that's when I learned about, I did it the year the banks opened. And so they have accessible signage at the banks. But, I think people think, oh no, it's going to cost money. And not all bills and laws cost money, and this was for new places and signs that need to be repaired. But I would see some signs that you can barely even read the symbol, even the word. And it's like, and I did it because my grandma, she passed away. She was 102 or 3, and she loved going to Fisher's. And, my dad wouldn't pull up in that lot. We would just pull in right near the door and let her out, and one of us would hold the doors, and there's people that we would save the accessible parking for because we knew they were coming. And as children, parents of children, they're not, the mom or dad doesn't have a disability, the child does, and the child doesn't want to be called that. So, it's respect and different symbols show the importance that people read differently, and that we all look at symbols even though we don't realize it. And we all have to take a step back in finding what's easy sometimes, but creative. I call this creative advocacy because you never know who you're going to help. I have a story about that. So about 10 years ago, Metro got new buses, and they were great because they had some lower floor and some upper floor. But then you couldn't see out the window if you sat in the lower floor. And I asked them, hey, can you lower the windows? People can't see. And they did. And I told that story, and this lady came up to me and said, I wondered who lowered those windows. And she thanked me because she gets car sick. And that's why she rides a bus to and from work each day. And you never know who you're going to help. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know where the person's coming from. Because everybody has a story. Everybody has an understanding on what they need. And now, we have a younger generation helping others. Not just doctors, not just professionals, but the younger generation. And advocacy looks different. In my spare time, I enjoy plays, like I said before, and my friend taught me of Marjorie book, Continued Education, and they do plays and service outings and classes for people with and without disabilities. And I am going to be in the play The Velveteen Rabbit, and I'm really excited about that. For relaxation, I do art. I'm going to be starting an art advocacy program at another nonprofit, and I'm just excited about that. I just enjoy helping people, and sometimes we forget how much we do, or how much we know, or how we can help people, or how people can say, oh, Diana would know about that, and I'm just glad I can help who I can help. And I know I won't know the whole story, but I can relate to them. I can say, well, let's talk to this person again, or do you want me to talk to this person, or find this resource, or
Yeah, I like your word, creative advocacy, all the different ways that you approach it through language or art or, yeah.
I also make welcome calls to our new staff at DD Services, and that's fun to do. This is not really work, And I also, another thing that we got from providers and family members is I never had the chance to say goodbye to a loved one or somebody I worked with, because I had to work, I couldn't attend the funeral, and then, So we started doing memorial services, and for providers and family members to express their condolences. And, people we serve, are getting older and they're living longer than people thought they would. And it's awesome because they're still involved and they're still doing things, but it doesn't mean they don't miss their friends or their family. So we do that once a year, and we have a connection with a great minister that helps us, and it's just really nice, and family members thank us, providers thank us, and the flameless candles, the ones you turn on, we give one to each family member. so they can remember and be in touch with that person.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Can I ask you, what have been some of your greatest successes as an advocate? Some of your most, like, your biggest accomplishments or your most memorable?
Well, I think I didn't mention this before, but I did a lot of state work and national work. I was the first person with a disability to become vice president and then president of the Ohio Self-Determination Association, which helps providers, family members, and people we serve about advocacy, telling your story, with government laws, issues, and bills that are being introduced. And I think not knowing how much the system works and learning about other counties and other organizations that they had and didn't have, and a lot of people we serve on waivers, so and that allows them to be more independent, but there's also some, I don't want to say problems, but some things that doesn't allow them, to carpool or to travel to a conference or to have medicine, control of the medicine, other things like that I just do automatically. Or, I have special funding, different type of funding or grants for. But people with disabilities sometimes don't understand how the system works or why they don't have the money to do this, or why they have to have a roommate, or why they have to have a guardian. And I learned a lot about that through the Ohio Self-Determination Association and how to take part before, during, and after a presentation, what to do, what to say, what to not do. And I think this organization is really one of its kind because it doesn't say no, but if we try to figure out a solution. And people with disabilities know what they want. And we have a training, it's train-the-trainer approach, Project STAR, Steps Toward Independence and Responsibility. And it's through a grant with the Ohio DD Council. And through this, people have become their own guardians, have spoken up about wanting to move out on their own, to get a job, to do training, to be a trainer, and get paid. And that's a job. Even though it might be once or twice a year, that's a job. And I emphasize how important this is because they enjoy doing it. And it's not all about the money. It's about meeting people, traveling, and focusing on how you can help other people. And we have an annual reunion. We have quarterly meetings that are on Zoom and in person. And the best part about this is that we've had some great success in transportation. We have self-directed transportation that people can use Uber to get to and from places. And this all came about because two friends wanted to go to one of the meetings, and they wanted to carpool just like you and I could, just you would pick me up and we would go to the library each day. But they couldn't because they were on two different waivers, and the funding, it wouldn't work. So none of them could go to the meetings. So, I know why we do this, to protect them and help them, but sometimes we make it worse than it is, or too confusing, and it's like, why does it have to be this confusing? And why can't we think of plan B or C? And I love OSDA. It really helped me become a better leader and understand more things. Because I'm not on a waiver. I didn't understand what a waiver is, what a waiver does, what it doesn't do. And I didn't understand guardianship. And because of OSDA, I'm learning more and more each day.
Nice. And congratulations on being president for a time. Diana, we've talked a lot about the questions that I had on here. We kind of talked about your background and growing up, school. We talked about folks who are really influential, disability, advocacy. You mentioned a little bit about the ADA, and you said that was not very impactful on your life. These are some questions that Lisa wrote. Do you feel like you could talk about the ADA? Yeah, feel free if you want to.
Well, I first learned about the ADA in high school. And then I learned about the ADA in partners in policy making. And I learned that, the ADA has changed because, technology and creative, having a temporary ramp at a business, things like that. But I guess it's difficult because we don't have that many accessible taxis. Well, taxis we don't have much of anymore either. But we don't have accessible Ubers. And I think accessibility, sometimes you don't even look what the ADA can do because you're not aware of your surroundings. And like an ADA hotel room can look different than the hotel room across the street from a different hotel. So I think it's hard to help out with learning the ADA because there's so many options, or sometimes there's lack of options, or sometimes they just throw up a ball and say, hey, the bathroom's accessible, and universal adult changing tables are finally popping up in locations around the city, which is good. But, we have to understand that it's not just the person, it's the building, and it's also the accessibility of how to get in, or how to use, or how to be able to get in places. And, I understand that some places you can't get into, or some spots that are difficult to manage, even in airports, like bigger facilities, that can be difficult too. But I think once we understand that A, it's cheaper, and B, we can make it work, that we can make this happen.
Oh, nice. That's a good answer. Yeah, Robert talked a little bit about the ADA too, and I know Lisa was really interested in that because of the 35th year anniversary. I think that's the only other piece that was on my list here. We talked about your work around language, around disability. We talked about, some of your accomplishments. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about that we didn't mention from your career? Sure. Go for it.
I think it's important that any small amount of advocacy is better than no advocacy, and that it's okay to include people with disabilities in your work, in a social event, in the city of Cincinnati. Woohoo! But I think we have to understand that sometimes it can be difficult for people to see why I do my job, and why I can't do more, or why I can't do something specific. I have to be careful of my language, my views on social media, where I take part in my voice and my choice, because I can lose my job like that, and I really don't want to. I just want to help others be the best that they can be. And I've learned that being an advocate, you have to see all sides. And you might not know all sides, but you just have to take a breath and see what you can do. And, find a friend or find a different outlet. It can be doing artwork. It can be writing an article. It can be showing your interest in other people that help people. And how you find your voice or helping other people find their voice. It could be a cluster sometimes, or it could be joy and just excitement, like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. I can lead a focus group. I can find people and places that believe in me. And that's what I had to do. And it was really difficult. And now I have so many people that believe in me. And I'm very appreciative of those people, especially Amber and Mike and my friends at DD Services and those that I work with on city projects and Cincinnati projects. And I know I can't do everything, even though sometimes I try to do everything, but that's what makes my job fun. And, I have the opportunity to learn with different people. And that's what makes me happy, and that's why I enjoy being an advocate so much.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, you're a good speaker. You've got good life lessons and good messages there. Is that everything? I think that's all we got. Yeah.